Caesars Entertainment has just announced a new EV charging network, one that, from the sound of it, looks like it's going to go well beyond Caesars resorts and casino properties. To talk about that announcement and give us more specifics, we have Eric Dominquez. Eric is the Corporate Director for Facilities Engineering and Sustainable Operations at Caesars Entertainment. And Eric is at the moment up in nice, cool, pleasant Reno, Nevada, as opposed to hot and scorching Las Vegas. Eric, welcome to EV World.
Hey, thanks, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. Now, look, when I've been to Caesars in Las Vegas on a number of occasions. I won't say how many. I've even also been to Harrah's up once, on one occasion, to Harrah's up in Reno. When I think of casinos like Caesars, I think of grandiose and opulence and lights and energy and everything just bigger and out of the normal. I don't think of it in terms of sort of, if you will, the kind of monkish sustainability where, you know, we look to conserve here and we cut back there, you know, that kind of ethic. I don't see that coming out of a casino, yet that's part of your job title. So tell us, how do you reconcile sort of those two polarities?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I mean, we're definitely trying hard to change that perception. I've been with Caesars a little over 8 years now and have been working from day one in kind of the sustainability world. And we have a CEO, Gary Loveman, who's very, very committed to greening our operations and trying to lessen our impact on the planet. We've had a formal program at the enterprise level for about 7 years now, and it's called CodeGreen. And we focus on trying to reduce the impacts that we're having as an organization on the planet while trying to improve the welfare of our communities in which we do business. We do that in a lot of different ways. Employee engagement is a huge piece of our program. Investment in efficiency is another huge component. You mentioned excess, and I think our industry is known for having a lot of lights, and that's just one small example, but we've been on a journey to convert all of our lighting to more energy efficient type lighting. Right now we're migrating over to light emitting diode technology, and that type of product uses about an eighth of the energy of a typical incandescent bulb, so we can try to still have that guest experience and you know, the excitement when you go to one of our properties that you're used to encountering is still there, but we're trying to do it in a much more sustainable manner through technology and through engagement.
Yeah, well, I read that Caesars actually won an EPA award here not too long ago for your efforts in that regard.
Yes, absolutely. It was earlier this year. We were the first in our industry to go out and publicly commit to an absolute carbon reduction goal. We, back in 2008, committed to a 10% reduction from 2007 as a base year to 2013, and we achieved that goal a year early. We actually hit a 12% absolute carbon reduction, despite the fact that our business grew by about 15% on a per square foot basis during that period. So certainly something to be proud of, but there's a lot more work, obviously, that needs to be done. If you look at kind of the global metrics and where we're going as a society, we've got a lot of increasing pressure on resources, growing population, and we're trying to do our part as an enterprise, as an organization, to try to reduce the impact we're having in our day-to-day operations.
Yeah, well, there's obviously not only sort of the green side of this, where, you know, you're looking out for societal benefits, but I'd also guess there's probably an economic benefit to doing this as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're not shy to admit that. There's certainly an economic case for a lot of the work that we do. I think if you're looking to try to have the biggest impact, oftentimes an economic prioritization will help you get there. So, you know, we've tended to focus on energy efficiency as a first step versus renewable energy. And, you know, we do have a couple of properties, one in Southern California that has a solar installation, about a megawatt of photovoltaic power at the site. But predominantly speaking, we've been focused on trying to reduce our energy footprint, trying to cut down on our energy use, trying to lower our carbon footprint through efficiency, and those types of projects tend to have better paybacks economically, but at some point in time we'll hit diminishing returns, and we're starting to figure out, how can we look at our supply side and green up the supply to help us further hit those long-term carbon goals that we have.
Right. So while you're reducing energy, for example, switching from incandescent to fluorescent to LED lighting, all that's about saving energy. At the same time, as the announcement we want to talk about today, you're also basically giving energy or providing or allowing people to use more energy at your facilities through this charging network.
This is true. We've installed or started to install a pretty comprehensive EV charging station network for our guests. We started in Nevada. We did a pilot with Schneider Electric last year up in northern Nevada, and rolled out 8 dual charge stations, which were capable of charging up to 16 vehicles simultaneously, and we've continued that deployment in southern Nevada, and recently announced the next stage of our rollout. So we now have 24 dual charge stations totally in our network, 48 spaces total, and we have plans to continue heading eastward and continuing to install charging stations at our properties in the Midwest and in our East Coast locations as well. So we're excited about that, and I think although electric vehicles obviously use power, they do so in a more energy efficient way than traditional combustion engines, and EV charging is part of our strategy to promote a low carbon economy. And I'll be the first to admit 48 spaces is not a lot, but we think we're trying to get out early and promote cleaner transportation and provide amenities for our guests, and to encourage them to drive cleaner. We're offering charging at no cost, so we're hoping we could do our part to try to encourage a cleaner transportation, a transition to cleaner transportation. And we'll be monitoring usage of the stations, and over time, if demand increase, we're prepared to meet that demand through the installation of additional charging stations.
So I'm guessing that these are probably the charging. I remember the announcement on the Reno installation about a year or so ago. So you've had a year or so to kind of get a feel for how those stations are being used, what's been the response from your guests and things. Sort of what's been your experience up to this point?
Yeah, we've had surprisingly very good utilization of the stations. We don't believe we're over capacity yet, but we think over time, as electric vehicles become more commonplace, that we'll probably have to look at expansion of the network. It's funny, anecdotally, I've been up to the Tahoe properties and to the Reno properties. I get up here several times a year, and my last visit to Tahoe was about a week and a half ago, and as I pulled into the parking garage, there was a Tesla parked in one of our EV charging spots. So it's nice to see that we're getting utilization, and we're certainly, from our business perspective, getting the types of guests that I think would make our folks happy in the hospitality side of the business. It's always nice to see a Tesla parked in an EV charging station, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. That would tend to be the demographic you'd love to have come there. So you answered the question already. Are these systems free? And you've said that they are.
Yep, they are.
How do you handle, obviously, with one Tesla and 24 stations available in northern, there's no issue at the moment with people waiting to charge and some of those protocol issues. What are sort of your thoughts, or how do you plan to kind of address those things? For example, where you find a non-EV parked in an EV spot, those kind of things that they're experiencing, over on the other side of the Sierras down in California.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a challenge. I think, as an early adopter, you're going to run into some challenges. We've done a couple of things. For one, we've notified all of our security teams on site. regarding the fact that we have electric vehicle charging stations installed, and as I guess as a business practice, if an employee sees the type of car parked in a space that doesn't belong, a combustion engine type vehicle that doesn't have a plug, we notify security, and they go out and put a little notice on the car. And we're hoping that over time we won't at least have repeat violators, but it's certainly a challenge. The other thing that we've done is, as we're rolling these stations out, we're putting a few intentionally in public locations and a few in our valet locations. And we've partnered with Schneider Electric. We're developing an application for the valet team to use, so that we know when a vehicle is charged, the valet guys can come and rotate the car out, and they can queue guests that are waiting to charge and provide them with information regarding when the spaces will be open. So we're wondering, or we're thinking, that this may be a more effective way to try to increase utilization of those charging stations themselves. For the public spaces, we track information through ChargePoint, of course, but we think this partnership with Schneider Electric and this mobile app that's developed will really help us out. And also in the valet, you don't have the same issues that you have in the public spots where you have the wrong types of cars parked. We have a little bit more control over the valet spaces. So we're thinking over time this may be a better option for us, but certainly time will tell.
Right. Well, that would be that was actually my next question. How do you handle the valet park? Because that's a very nice service when you just simply have to, you pull up to the front of the casino or the resort and you let somebody take the car for you. So at some point, obviously, then you have to train the valet staff as to which cars are in fact electric, which cars are not. And there's a difference between a Volt and a Cobalt, and all those kinds of things. So that's kind of an interesting challenge, and I assume that obviously that app would help you be able to accomplish that then.
Yeah, absolutely. And Schneider Electric's been a great partner. They helped us kind of launch this initiative up in northern Nevada, and they provided support in southern Nevada. And I think just the partnership and the development of the application is allowing us to go a little bit above and beyond just a typical install where you put in the hardware and you're done.
Right.
And we think the application is going to add a lot of value, and we're hoping that it makes, at the end of the day, makes the guest experience all that much better.
Good. The federal government is encouraging corporations, and your corporation would certainly fall within that arena, to put in charging for their employees. Are any of these sites available for your employees to use?
Yeah, technically they're not restricted, but we've put them in predominantly to service our guests. We are discussing internally how we go about addressing the need on an employee basis, and I would guess that in the future we're going to probably have some designated spaces for employee charging in our employee lots. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but it's definitely on the radar and something that we're thinking about internally.
Right. Well, I wouldn't see sort of the average casino employee necessarily driving a Tesla Roadster, but they might in fact have a lease on a Leaf, or they might have picked up a used Chevrolet Volt or something like that. That would, and of course, once we get the new Tesla Model 3 out there, that suddenly a whole lot more people can afford an electric car, which then obviously puts some apparently some pressure on you guys then.
Yeah, for sure. And that, we already hear, we have green teams at every property, CodeGreen teams that tend to attract the more sustainability-minded employees. But these are voluntary teams that help push our sustainability agenda at the property level. And we know just through talking to members of the teams that we have a couple of employees that do drive electric vehicles already. And at a grander level, our chief marketing officer bought a Tesla last year, the S model. So I know that a couple of the executives also are driving electric vehicles, which is
excellent.
Nice to hear.
Yeah. What are you driving, Will, should ask?
Well, I have, unfortunately, an old Lexus 1999 model, but I'm in the market for a new car, and I'm checking out electric vehicles. So I'm hoping to get something that's either all EV or hybrid in nature.
Right.
So
Well, good for you. Right.
Yeah.